You are listening to The Counselor's Chair, a podcast where we explore all things human, mental health, psychology, philosophy, and a few extras. We are excited you are with us for this episode, which is the second of 2 episodes where we discuss the ins and outs of depression and ways to cope. Be sure to check us out on all forms of social media and visit our YouTube channel at The Counselor's Chair. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast. Hey guys, Josh Sello here. I wanted to take a second and let you know about our next podcast. We're looking forward to having our first guest on, Charlie Miser. Charlie's the president of East West Digital Media and a devoted family man. He also happens to be a close personal friend. Andrew, Charlie, and I will explore ways in which friendship can move you forward in life. We will discuss how surrounding yourself with the right people can influence you towards positive living, sticking with change, and taking healthy risk. We'll also talk a bit about how toxic friendships can work against your overall success. So if you enjoy dad jokes and sincere, thoughtful reflection, it should really be a good time. All right, I'll let you get back to the podcast. All right, folks, welcome back to the Traverse Counseling Service podcast, now called The Counselor's Chair. And it's good to be back with you for the second part of our series on coping with depression. Again, this is based off of the article that we wrote for the blog, or that I wrote for the blog, called 20 Ways to Fight with Depression. And we're just going to go through the points on this that we left off of in our previous podcast, in the previous show. Just a brief recap of what that was. We talked a little bit about depression, symptoms of depression, what depression looks like, and then we sort of rolled through, I think it was 8 or 9 of the different ways that you can cope and fight with depression. If you're interested in that, just hop back an episode, start with that, and this is the follow-up. This is the follow-up to that, and we're just gonna hop right in. So the first one that we'll go over today is yoga and meditation. So Andrew's more experienced in this personally than I am, so I'm gonna let you take off with what you feel like is important for people to hear on this one.
Yeah. Namaste, brother.
Namaste.
Okay, so there's so much research coming out about the benefits of meditation specifically. One of the common things that we hear frequently is that it's a great way to combat depression and anxiety. The brain scans actually show that even just like 10 minutes of meditation over a period of about 60 days will actually change your brain structure. Parts of the brain that might be darker on brain spec imaging will actually, be brighter.
Yeah, they'll burn a little brighter.
Yeah. So people might want to know, like, okay, so what's happening? Like, what is meditation? So, what happens in daily society, and just having expectations and schedules and media devices, it kind of takes us out of the present moment. And we talk a lot about the here and now in counseling, right?
Yeah.
So, from a primal standpoint, our ancestors, might have just been focused on a handful of things, just whatever they had to do that day. So we'll go from just kind of a hunter-gatherer standpoint. They wake up, they're probably hungry, so it's about survival. It's about growing food, hunting food, finding food, probably talking and interacting with family. But outside of that, that's pretty much it. So that's kind of a lifestyle that our brains were, that we over time we adjusted to. So meditation is kind of going back to that state. It's a way to just be present in the moment, not trying to judge yourself or what's going on. It's literally just going through your senses, being aware of what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're feeling, We might go through a whole day and feel tension or anxiety and never stop and actually just evaluate, and like, why am I feeling this way? Or even just being, mindful, so to speak, of, where in your body do you feel stress? Where do you feel tension? Like, we might just think to ourselves, man, I have a headache all day. What is this from? And, it could just be like thoughts, like we talked about from last week. It can be a myriad of things. Sometimes we put pressure on ourselves that might feed certain symptoms. It might cause, us to have stress in the body. And so, therefore, being able to ground yourself, take a few minutes. We all know about. I don't know about, but I mean, we've all heard about deep breathing. Mm-hmm. And what deep breathing does, and that's part of meditation, of being aware of the inhale, the sensations of the inhale. It's a great precursor to kind of go into a meditative state, to be aware of the long inhale and then the exhale, and kind of being mindful and not trying to change anything of the flow of inhale, exhale. Yeah, that's just kind of I don't know, I could talk about this for days.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about in it, and I think even with that deep breathing stuff, just getting oxygen into your blood and into your brain actually makes quite a bit of a difference as far as anxiety is concerned.
Yes.
Right. There's a really brilliant researcher, Zapolsky, wrote a book, very popular book in our field, called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers.
Yes.
And he breaks down what our anxiety is, why we have anxiety, kind of like what Andrew was talking about in regards to primal anxieties of survival. And he basically, in less words, says we all have anxiety disorders because we are now engaging our systems, our nervous systems, with anxieties that won't actually kill us, or things that are making us anxious that aren't actual threats to our lives. Right. Even taking a breath, getting oxygen into your system and allowing yourself to have some clarity can let you know what is a threat and what isn't a threat. Right.
Yeah, and to go off of that, so what we're talking about is cortisol, right? So cortisol is your stress hormone. It's what tells you to fight or fight, basically. And so, say for example, and this is something I talk about to clients about all the time, say for example, you are in immediate danger. So you're in a car accident, or you're being attacked by a bear, or you're in a situation where you might be drowning. You've experienced that?
Yeah, I have, unfortunately.
So your brain, obviously is going to tell your body to fight or flight, to do as much damage not damage, but I guess if you're in a attacker type situation, you're going to do the most aggressive thing to get out of that situation. So what happens is, again, in our modern day, society, the grind, so to speak, running late to work, having a disagreement with a spouse, your cortisol levels are going to go up. And so by, doing deep breathing, again, if you're being attacked by a bear in the wilderness, you're not going to stop and just say, okay, just take a nice long deep breath, naturally you're basically telling your body, hey, you're safe. And it's just it's a good check-in. A lot of people meditate in the morning, just taking 10 minutes, just to be aware, not trying to change anything. Now, one thing I hear all the time is meditation is really hard. And it is difficult in the sense of, everybody thinks they're meditating wrong, because your thoughts are going to come in, your schedule's going to come in, your kids are going to start crying, something's going to come up that's going to take you out of the present moment, and that's completely okay. It's just the point is that you're observing it, you're present with it, you're fully intentional, and not judging, not trying to change your environment, but just being aware of it. So again, this is probably a whole podcast that we could do sometime. But
I'm thinking that too.
I do want to touch on yoga. So we've all heard that that food can be medicine for us, right? As long as we're eating the right food, or it can be poison for us. Well, in the same light, so to speak, yoga can also be medicine for your body. Again, going back to devices, and I know I'm horrible at this. I mean, as far as like looking at your phone or devices, you're hunched over. When you are texting and you're bent over like this, if you can see me, well, anyway, we all know text neck, basically, or text neck. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That actually puts 60 pounds of pressure on your neck and shoulders when we're hunched over like that. It's an unnatural posture for us to be in for long periods of time. So your yoga can be medicine for your body in the sense that it helps with posture. A lot of people, get depressed because of chronic pain. People have knee and back and neck issues, and over prolonged, we resort to surgeries and opiates, and that can obviously create addiction and also add to depression. Whereas, taking 10 minutes a day to do various types of stretching, being mindful, being present, meditation and yoga can kind of go hand in hand in the sense of, it's even if it's just like bend over and touch your toes, you're not thinking about your schedule, you're not thinking about anything other than just the sensations you feel in the here and now, in the present moment. So it is a mind-body connection, and it can be medicine for your body to obviously become more limber. And people want to say, well, I can't do yoga because I'm just not flexible. Well, it's like, I can't do pull-ups because I just can't. Well, it's like, do more try to do more assisted pull-ups until you get to the point where you can do one. It's just like, well, I don't like reading. Well, maybe try reading things that interest you, or it's just any kind of facet in life. There's a process, there's a progression. Even going back to depression, there's a process. Even in meditation, you're training your brain. So even if you have 90 seconds of just being present in the moment out of 10 minutes, like that's definitely a really good starting place. And over time you'll train your brain to be able to be more present. So you might be able to, over time go 3 straight minutes where you're just focused on the breath, not trying to change anything. And then, yoga is just, there's good community. And I don't know, I'm kind of bouncing around, but there's classes. If you're in the Cleveland area, you can go to
Studio 22.
Yes, there's so many studio this and that. Cosmetology and all this stuff.
There's all kinds of it.
But I've actually gone there a handful of times. I know our office manager and your wife Julia has used to go there a lot. It's totally affordable. It's like $5 a class, which is insane. If you, I was in Alexandria, Virginia one time, and it was like $600 a month to go be part of of course Alexandria is a little different than Cleveland, Tennessee, but so if you go to Chattanooga, it's pretty expensive, but any gym membership, most gyms are going to throw in some yoga classes and different things. So there is a community aspect, which we talked about last week, and we're probably going to go a little more in depth than to today. But so that's just kind of an overview from my perspective. And again, obviously, the more I'm talking, my brain is swarming. So I'm just thinking maybe this is something we can spend some time on. But
surely. Yeah, I think revisiting this topic for a future podcast in the near future would be a really good thing. And I had some thoughts as Andrew was talking as well. Particularly I'm not flexible enough for yoga, or I have the brain capacity of a squirrel and I'm all over the place. I can't meditate. I do have the attention span of a squirrel personally, and there are so what's good to know is there's all different types of meditations, and you can find these meditations online. You can find them on podcasts. You can find them YouTube is just chock full of different meditations. One of my favorite ones is a gratefulness meditation that I practice every morning. And I can do it for between 5 and 10 minutes depending on the day, or I just pick 3 things that I'm grateful for, and I picture them and I allow myself to be grateful. It's an incredible way to start the day. It's a good foot to start the day on, to be grateful for, and you kind of feel some of those anxieties melt away, particularly when you see what it is that you've been blessed with in your life. So that it's a progression. It's something that takes time to do. There's some really cool ones that you can do in the evening for sleep as well, to kind of prep you for sleep. And you can do a Google search of those, but there's some really, really effective ones that I've tried. And thoughts on yoga too. If you can't get into a gym, there's a ton of stuff on YouTube. There's a ton of stuff on your Amazon.
There's apps.
Prime.
I use Yoga Studio. It was actually voted second best app, I think, in 2016. I think it's just like a one-time fee of like $30, or it's like a $30 annual something or other. It is so user friendly, and it's all different levels. I mean, it's really good. So.
Yeah, and yoga is an incredible tool if your depression is also related to some past trauma, particularly if it's a sexual trauma or a trauma that you experienced with your body or to your body. You can use yoga as a tool to sort of reconnect with your body in a helpful way, in a healthy way, and learn the sensations of your body over again. It really is a great tool for depression associated with trauma, or if there's no depression associated with trauma, though that's kind of rare. If you're going and processing through trauma or not processing through trauma, yoga can be a really, really good tool to help win your body back. And meditation, I think, again, it's a really good tool to help you win your mind back. Win your mind back from anxiety. So, Studio 22 here in Cleveland. There's a great studio in St. Elmo called Peace Strength Yoga. I believe that I'm getting that. Yep, Peace Strength Yoga, and they really do focus on being in tune with your body in both of those studios. But you can also use your Y membership. A lot of the people who do these studios also are the same instructors that do classes at the YMCA, or maybe a different gym that you may be a part of. So again, great thing. Also, just kind of like there's been a stigma spiritually around yoga and meditation, like it's sort of voodoo-ish, or it is tied to some of the Eastern philosophies and religions, but they wouldn't call themselves religious. I know that there's some connection there. What's cool is in the studio in Cleveland, but also in other studios, they'll bring in a sort of Christian perspective onto that, or they'll kind of keep any sort of religious or philosophy or Eastern philosophy absent from the session itself, because it may not be comfortable for everybody. But if it is comfortable for you, you can surely pop into those classes and plug in a more philosophical or spiritual religious manner. But it's good to know that whatever you conceptualize as the spirit and the soul, yoga and the self, yoga and meditation are a great way to connect with those and to experience healing in those. And you can bring in your religious background into that experience too. It's not some exclusive Eastern philosophy or religion. So I did want to make that statement, because I think we're seeing a dissolution. I'm fumbling all over my words tonight. I think we've seen a decrease in the stigma around those things. However, I do want to just address that as someone who's participated in both yoga and meditation, and not really associating it with some of the Eastern philosophy and religion. So I just want to throw that out there, and something for you to consider.
One thing I'd like to also add is obviously consult your doctor. Obviously, before I don't want to just say, if you've had chronic back and neck pain or what have you, certainly consulting your physician before you decide to do that. Also, there are a myriad of mental health diagnosis that's probably not good for doing meditation. So, say for example, if you've had previous bouts of psychosis or anything like that, if you see a psychiatrist, it might be something to talk with them about before you start up a meditative practice. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, So that covers yoga and meditation. Again, we'll probably do a whole podcast on that, and maybe even have a guest on for that. I'm sure we could pull one of the local instructors in to talk with. The next one, this one is personally one that's been effective, and that's art and creativity. So I put that in there. I know not everybody may consider themselves artistic or creative, and you may not be. Not everybody is artistic and creative.
What is art anyway?
What is art anyway? However, for those of you that do practice art regularly or consider yourselves more creative in nature, participating in art and creativity while you're in the throes of depression can produce some of your best work. I think we've seen that with authors, musicians, artists across the board. It can get a little dark and scary, so I recommend some accountability in there, but that's not necessarily just with the arts. I've also included creativity in there because you may enjoy woodworking, you may enjoy working with metal, you may enjoy crafting of some sort. There may be knitting. Knitting is actually a really popular one. Sometimes I have clients come in with knitting tools and knit in session because it helps with anxiety and depression.
I'd like to throw something in there really quick. So even with going back to the meditation piece, when you're doing these things, so like the knitting, like the repetition, it's almost like the repetition of the breath. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I clarified that very well, but that is a form of meditation, right? Mm-hmm. Being fully present, like having that focused attention on one thing. Mm-hmm. So just
absolutely,
wanted to say that.
Yeah, and for me, part of creativity also involves the outdoors. So I love to fly fish, and I love to tie my own flies. That's probably the most creative thing I do now, outside of things for the practice or things with my kids. Me personally, plugging in to the outdoors is massively helpful. But when I can't get to that, I'll sit and put little tiny hooks and thread and all this stuff and put it together into this little fly that eventually I catch, or hopefully catch a fish on. So I include this art and creativity, one, because some of your more inspired work can come out of the emotions that you're feeling, and it's a great way to get those emotions out of your own head and into something that represents it. Because part of depression work is separating yourself from depression enough to realize that you are still a person outside of depression or inside depression, however you want to view that. It's an opportunity to make it a sort of voice on your shoulder versus a voice that governs your whole brain. So art and creativity, I think, is an excellent way to do that. It also engages parts of the brain that are helpful to engage when you're feeling depressed. We won't go into all the neurology behind that, though it would be useful to do. I think maybe we'll just do a brain-based podcast at some point in time and go through all of those specifics. However, so producing art, it's also a way to be physically engaged, hit some of that meditative state, or almost a hypnotic state, depending on how much you enjoy this thing. And not only that, there's a sense of reward and accomplishment when you've completed something that you're creating or something that you're working on. Though if you're an artist, I understand too that sometimes art projects get either intentionally left undone, or creative projects get intentionally left undone, but you can still celebrate what it is that you've accomplished up to that point. So yeah, this is really cool, particularly if you're more on the artsy and creative side of things, and you may experience depression even more if that is part of your personality. So don't lose touch with those passions, and even if you feel like you're losing touch, kind of see if you can punch through with some that disconnect with forms of art or creativity that you really, really enjoy. Again, that's not limited to the typical art mediums that you may think of. That is also including things like like I said, fly tying. It could be digital. You like to create things digitally. You like to create music. You like to record. Writing could be a part of that as well. And woodworking, I think a lot of people get a significant amount of joy out of that. You could go out into the yard, whittle or like fool around in some flower beds, plant a garden. You know, create something, something, and look at it for a while. It does us a ton of good, even if you're not depressed. I mean, that's an excellent thing to plug into. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, it connects both sides of the brain. There's a lot of research coming out about even doing things with your non-dominant hand, being able to connect both right and left side of the brain, and with neuroplasticity. I heard a thing the other day. They said, even as far as creativity, like writing your name, and I think Leah actually was talking about that, writing your name with your left hand. And anyway, but I'm getting into neuroscience and stuff.
And it's certainly something that I would like to nerd out on a bit. This may not be the best platform to dive deep into the neurological aspects of it, but I remember her talking about that. That was some grief exercises. Yes. I think like writing letters, writing a whole letter to a loved one with your left hand, or your non-dominant hand.
Right.
So pretty cool.
Yeah. So grief is depression, right? Well, an aspect of depression. So
it certainly brings it on, and the next point kind of ties into yoga, though we didn't go into this bit of it, but it's pretty important as far as depression is concerned, and that is getting exercise. In the article, the title that I used is "I like to move it." After that, because I have kids and I can't help but think of like that little Madagascar song, "I like to move it, move it." I like to move it, move it. It is cute.
Is there a dance that goes along with it?
You know what there is,
and
really? I don't know. I don't know
if
I remember it.
Oh, that's a lie.
I don't know if I remember it at all, or if it's even. I think I do remember it. I don't know if it's appropriate. I don't know if it's appropriate for the audience. Okay. It's got a little some body movements in it. That's for sure.
Elvis paved the way, bro.
Sure. Well, so let's talk a little bit about working out, Andrew. What are your thoughts on working out, or just having some form of exercise if you're feeling depressed?
So, from a neuroscience perspective,
there we go again.
So, using your body for what it's made for. We're made to be mobile. Honestly, from a anatomy and kinesiology perspective, it's like the body is pretty amazing, and I keep hearing this, come up that sitting is the new smoking. That it's actually that people playing video games and sitting and not moving around and getting outside as much is really affecting our health, our mental health, and obviously our bodies, causing you to feel stiff and have bad posture. Even the nature of like sitting in a chair is really not what our body is created for. It puts a lot of pressure on the neck and the lumbar spine. Obviously, moving around, it's going to, exercising, it's going to increase serotonin in the brain, probably dopamine too, I would assume. Anyway.
It gets everything firing, that's for sure.
You're going to, you're going to, get, what am I trying to say? Whatever, chemicals in the brain, that are, that make you feel good. That you're really probably not going to get from sitting around. I know you're not going to get it. So even even in your throughout your workday, it's just good to like get up and move around, walk, stretch, go outside, whatever. But obviously, having a routine. We could spend forever on fitness. My biggest thing with fitness is just find what you are into. I think a lot of people have in their minds like the conventional gym feel, but exercise really could just be getting outside and just walking for a few minutes, as far as making you feel better. You can get into other facets of fitness, but don't feel stuck. If you hate something,
try yoga. I mean, there's CrossFit gyms that have, such an incredible like community feel. I mean, obviously going to the Y, I mean, swimming, I mean, whatever. Everybody knows like the different types of exercise, but I think, I mean, I honestly think the exercise is probably one of the major ways to combat depression. I mean, for sure.
Yeah. And if anything, when you're depressed, one of those symptoms is feeling lethargic.
Yes.
And so if anything, you're fighting that symptom particularly
Right.
is you're literally going against the grain of the lethargy and getting your heart rate up. Even if it's just up a little bit, you're getting your blood moving. Like Andrew said, you're getting all of those good chemicals that your brain and body can produce, and you're swirling them around in your system. So that is going to be effective. I think in talking with clients too, this is something that you can very practically do to fight the mental shame of depression. Is I can get up and walk, right? I can do that, and so I will. It's an active tool, and just achieving that gives you some mental fortitude to maybe conquer, or to at least put dents or chips in your diet. I know that when we're moving regularly or we have some exercise goals, we may be more conscious of our diet, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in this podcast as far as watching what you take in regards to depression. But exercise is one of those things that once you start doing it, you kind of want the other areas of your life to button up as well.
Yeah, it's going to affect your self-esteem. Like I said, it could be community.
Yeah.
I mean,
yep, absolutely. You knock out a mile-long run in the throes of depression, and you're going to feel some type of way about that.
Yeah.
And even if it's half a mile walk, accomplishing that goal, which is another thing we'll talk about, it really does have good effects. And again, that social aspect as well. Getting around other people who are like-minded, motivated, want to see change in their lives or want to see change in their bodies, like being around that, and even getting a personal trainer if you can afford one, somebody that has some accountability for you.
Right.
That's going to be another great way to utilize this as a weapon against depression.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can't get to a gym, let's say you're in a more rural area, or there's not a lot of people around you who work out, or you don't have a lot of tools, you don't have like a home gym accessible to you, really you can go to Walmart and get bands and hop online and do band exercises, and those are just like these bands that stretch. There's a name for them. I don't remember the name. There's a specific name for them. Anyway, you can pick them up at Walmart, you can pick them up at Sportsman's Warehouse.
Just exercise bands. I know we both have a ton.
Yeah,
of them.
absolutely.
I never thought about what they're specifically called.
I said Sportsman's Warehouse. I meant Academy. You can tell fishing's on my brain. I meant like Academy or Dick's Sporting Goods. Any of those places are gonna have bands that you can work with. And if you can't afford bands, they're just resistance training exercises you can do at home with a soup can. There's
Google body weight exercises.
Yep.
I mean, how many people, do you see go off to the military, for their 3 months of basic training, and then come home and they're, they've lost like 50 pounds and they're pretty ripped, and they're definitely not using weights or treadmills or there's no equipment involved. I mean, it's just the old body.
Yeah,
so there's plenty you can do.
So, and if you're not if you can't deal with the social aspect of it, again, this is something you can do from the comfort of your own home. This is a great one you can integrate with family. I meant to say that with yoga too. This is something you can integrate with your kids, especially if you have an Amazon or a Netflix or a Hulu account. You can put up yoga, or you can put up an exercise program on the TV. The whole family can gather around and do exercises. The kids wind up just kind of dancing around. My kids do anyway, especially if we throw on something like Post Malone while we're working out. They just they ham it up, that's for sure. But it's something that you can do with your whole family. It's not something you have to do in isolation at home.
Well, and it's a culture of your home. So for future for emotional intelligence in your kids to set up, which is obviously probably fights depression in a sense, because you can see your kids grow up with healthy habits.
Absolutely,
setting a tone for that.
And I guess that regiment too. That sort of, you're setting them up for success in dealing with your own depression. It's actually a way that you can impact their future by giving them some sort of regiment, or making exercise normal and healthy in your house is something that they're going to remember, if more likely when they encounter depression for themselves. So that's good stuff, man. That's good. Exercise is good stuff all the way around. And you can start small and work your way up. It's another one of those things you taper. And if you've never exercised, and you have medical conditions that prohibit you, there are ways that you can still get exercise, whether that's in a pool. But I would just talk to your primary care physician. Let them know that you want to try some exercising to cope with depression, and they'll kind of let you know what the limits are of whatever medical disorder you may be battling with, or if you've broken limbs or anything, any sort of medical challenges that you face when exercising. There are ways to navigate around those and still get your heart rate up and get your heart pumping, get your heart pumping, get things moving. Even like the nature of even getting a massage is going to give you like circulation and that kind of thing. So if you absolutely just cannot do exercise, that might be another outlet to look at just for circulation and back and muscle decompression and that kind of thing. So. Oh yeah. And we didn't mention chiropractors or acupuncturists either, because I've had clients have success in depression with both of those as well, getting their body aligned and doing acupuncture, particularly the holistic acupuncturists who also will integrate vitamins, and some of them even integrate talk therapy. I know Yin Yang is a place in Chattanooga that does that really well. I think the guy who owns it, his name is Chad, and he's great. If you're in that area and in Chattanooga, I highly recommend that place. I've had clients with great success there. So I think that about covers exercise.
Yeah, I do just want to throw in there that some days you're just not going to want to exercise, but it is the routine. You even touched on it, just having some kind of regiment. So there's certain days the days that I have picked out to exercise that works with my schedule, and so instead of giving myself permission to just take a day off if I feel sluggish or tired or what have you, I'll still go in, and even if that just means like I just hop on a spin bike for 15 minutes and then go sit in a steam room with the old dudes. I'm always gonna leave feeling better and feel thankful on the tail end of doing something, versus just giving myself permission to just go to work, because I'm a therapist, and so I do sit all day, and so I can tell significantly that at the end of the day that I can tell at the end of the day when I've exercised and when I haven't that day. I feel more loose, I have more energy, I'm actually more lucid in counseling, so I know that even just getting in there and just doing something, keep maintaining that routine, and not beating myself up for not being awesome. Having a killer exercise or a killer workout. So
I'm more often on that end of the spectrum. Cool. Well, and if you have any more questions about exercise, feel free to shoot us a text or an email.
Yeah, because we're both Adonises.
Oh, good Lord. We wanted to take a brief pause to tell you a little bit about Traverse Counseling Services. Traverse Counseling Services gives Cleveland, Tennessee, and Chattanooga safe, ethical, confidential counseling for those seeking professional, personalized guidance as they walk through presenting emotional or behavioral struggles. Our counseling is tailored to every client's needs, promoting personal and spiritual wellness, relational and interpersonal healing, mental stability, and community bonding. Our counseling staff are all licensed professional counselors or marriage and family therapists offering quality licensed services ranging from marriage therapy, family therapy, individual counseling, mental health counseling, career counseling, grief counseling, faith-based counseling, and anxiety therapy. If you're interested in becoming a client at Traverse, you can visit our website at www.traversecounselingservices.com, or you can give us a call at 423-310-8206. And now back to the podcast. Well, on that note, like this next point, we don't have to spend a ton of time on it, but I thought this was really, really cool. I actually had a client discover this and tell me about this a few years back, that most of the local pet shelters, you can actually go in and volunteer to pet a pet.
What?
Yeah, like you can go into the pet shelters. These are animals that don't have owners. The animals themselves typically are depressed because of the environment that they're in. The people in shelters usually do all they can to take good care of those pets. They are usually overworked and understaffed, and it's a lot of volunteers that work in those, and they usually have rooms that people can come and meet pets that they want to adopt. In those rooms though, they'll bring a dog or a cat or a parrot or a snake, whatever your flavor is. They'll bring that thing into the room with you, and you could spend as much time as you want entertaining this little pet. Now, you may want to walk out adopting the thing, but what I would recommend is not adopting it, thinking about it, and maybe choosing that in the future. But getting in there, volunteering is an aspect of this.
Yeah.
So generally with depression, you're not going to feel very useful. It's something I hear all the time. I'm really good for nothing. That's where some of the suicidal thoughts start to creep in.
Yeah.
Volunteering is an incredible way to combat that, whether it's at a pet shelter or a homeless shelter or at a church or at any organization that you've always wanted to be involved in. I mean, if you can volunteer at Walmart to be a greeter. You can volunteer at
mow my yard.
Yeah, mow somebody's yard, mow somebody in your community who can't get out there and mow their lawn. Maybe mow their lawn for them.
Big brother, big sister.
Yeah,
There's a caring place in Cleveland.
Oh yeah. There's some great stuff.
Big Pal, Little Pal. That's what we have here.
It's good stuff. So the volunteering aspect of that can really can shift your mood and get you outside of your own head and focused on someone who is also struggling. And extending help to someone who is also struggling can be a really good way to combat depression. But particularly these pets, because these pets don't really require much of you. They're just kind of happy to be in the room with you, and they are great snugglers, and at least some of them are. I would assume so. Some of them may be great snugglers. Who knows? If you like snuggling with pets, this is your jam. And you can spend an hour with this on your lunch break, half hour with this on your lunch break, or in the evening if you don't have anything to do. This is another thing you can integrate your kids with. Maybe bring your kid along and you guys just volunteer.
Then you're definitely going to end up with it.
Then you'll end up with 6 cats.
Don't bring your lady friend. You'll definitely end up with an animal.
Good night. Yeah, so that's really that's that section on volunteer to pet a pet. I think, again, I've encouraged my clients to do this. I've never had a client come back to me and say, well, that was a terrible idea. Usually it's something that instantly shifts their mood. Again, they're helping an animal in need, and they're also getting an opportunity to feel useful to this little animal. And I mean, they're cute. Like they're cute. It's good to be around cute things sometimes.
I don't know why. I just keep thinking about going and requesting to pet a reindeer. Do y'all have any deprived reindeer?
I mean, maybe the further north you go, it's like some of the shelters in Alaska or something like that.
Do y'all have any fresh baby moose? I could make my companion.
Oh my God, that's awesome. A baby moose. So yeah, that's volunteer to pet a pet. We've gone over a few of these. Map it out and set a goal. This ties into some of the other topics we've talked about. I particularly love this one. I encourage my clients to do this when they're not depressed. When we've mapped out the course of depression, again, you can't do that absolutely perfectly, but you can get an idea of when in the year you're likely going to be depressed, right? Yeah. So if you know that this part February. If February is an absolute nightmare for you, there are half marathons you can run in early March, right? And so you might want to plop one of those right in the middle of your schedule to keep you motivated. It doesn't have to be, a 5K, but there may be other goals that you really want to set for your year. And having those goals, particularly if you're a goal-oriented person. I know some of my artsy and creative people may not be so much goal-oriented, but there's a whole lot of people that are goal-oriented, and having a goal, having something to focus on, having something in the future can be really helpful. That also includes vacations, that includes visits from friends or from family, that includes work-oriented goals, just having something that you're placing in or around the time of the depressive episode, and you're setting your trajectory forward on it. Depression and anxiety do two things really well. One, they rob you of your future, or they stick you in your past, and you are not allowed to be part of the present. Well, we've talked about ways to be part of the present. Mm-hmm. One of the ways you can win back your future is by having something that you're actually looking forward to in your future, something that you actually enjoy, something that you will feel accomplished in. You can actually set your orientation on that thing, focus in on it, and win your future back from depression, which not a lot of people talk about, honestly. A lot of the literature and a lot of the coping skills now, they focus on the here and now. I think it is important to also win your future, particularly with suicidal thoughts, because suicidal thoughts say that you don't have a future, your future's not worth it. It's like, well, I'm going to fight that thought by putting something worthwhile in my future that I can actually work towards and accomplish. Right. Yeah. So that, I think this is one of the more practical ways you can do something. You can bring accountability into it as well, saying, hey, you want to run this with me, or do you want to do this goal with me, or do you want to go on this trip with me, do you want to, any of those things.
Put it even if you know a certain season or a certain scenario, say like if it's the anniversary of a deceased loved one coming up.
Yes.
Even putting it in your schedule, to go pet a reindeer or whatever, but going ahead and you know what I'm saying? So when you get to that, in that season, it's like, oh yeah, being proactive about, plugging these things in, going ahead and doing that. So it's, because when you're depressed, you're not thinking about that. You're not thinking about, you're almost in crisis. You just feel sad and down. And parts of the brain that are goal and future oriented, kind of go a little dormant. You're just kind of lost in what's going on. So it might help to as you're setting your schedule to see, oh yeah, okay, all right, good reminder. Go pet a baby moose, or make sure you're exercising, or whatever. Call therapist.
Pet a baby moose. I can't, dude. That's awesome. I'm going to get a stuffed baby moose for the next episode.
But also, we've heard, Jordan Peterson, who's a psychologist, he's talked about, specifically when people don't have a specific direction or a goal, he very plainly states that when people aren't, don't have something to look forward to, or things that they're doing, some kind of routine that they're, working towards, that's where mental health issues runs rampant. Mm-hmm. And he kind of makes the correlation between that and the homeless population, because Jordan Peterson's kind of fix for this is having a job. It's having that routine, the place to go, bearing the fruit of your time and efforts and that kind of thing.
I agree. I totally agree. That future orientation point and trying to stay fixed on it and moving in that direction is key, not only to depression, but also, like Peterson says, it's it's not just key to fighting depression. It's also key to contending with anxiety. It's key to having healthy relationships. It's key to having a healthy future, healthy finances. I mean, having a future point that you're fixed on is definitely key. Certainly key when you're dealing with depression, because, like I said, that future orientation just gets foggy and it feels unstable and it feels not worth it. So it makes sense to put something worthwhile right in the middle of it, right? That you can see, that you can, or just on the other side of it, so that you're actually getting through this episode and making it to that thing, and it's kind of rewarding. It has a rewarding aspect to it. So yeah, that again, that's a really practical thing you can do. With that, you can bring your kids into that as well. If you have a family, I feel like it's important to tie family aspects into this, because so many people do have families, small children, grown children, that you really can't be isolated. Your responsibilities are keeping you tied to your kids, and so that. This is something you can bring them into. Maybe, I'm just thinking creatively, like maybe you can ask them what a good goal would be for them.
Right.
And that becomes your goal together. That would actually be really cool, because not only, again, are you working for yourself and your future, but now you're also fighting for the future of your child and the goal that they want to achieve as well. You're setting them up for success, and that's always a good feeling as a parent.
Yeah, I have some friends who they sit down every year. They want to go on 50 hikes a year.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's I mean, and they, they'll take whole weekends, and so they'll sit down with their kids. I mean, they're very outdoorsy, obviously, and they map out. I mean, they it's an activity. It's something the kids look forward to, obviously, and they spend I mean literally every weekend, like, they're hiking and camping.
Yes.
And so, that's just kind of an aspect of, like, bringing your family in, having something to do, having a goal as a family to, like, I don't know that they've ever actually done 50 hikes. They probably hit about 25. But, they do have that expectation, and it's,
Sure. Well, and they already have the next year lined
up.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It's like they already have 25 for the next year to get into. So that's cool. That's really cool. Well, yeah. So that covers that point. I'm going to kind of move forward into breaking out the journal. Andrew, what are your thoughts on journaling, or particularly, how about this? What have you found in working with your clients? Maybe an exercise in journaling that you feel like has been helpful to your clients.
So, I mean, I generally, especially with depression and anxiety, I have my clients just kind of, and this is pretty rudimentary, but I have people keep an automatic thought record.
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
And so, we've kind of already talked about this a little bit in the first podcast about, what messages are you telling yourself? What's your knee-jerk response? Say, for example, if you experience a failure, or if you have a interaction with another person that you're kind of maybe being a little hard on yourself, scrutinizing yourself. And so what I go a little bit of a step further to say, okay, what's your automatic thought? And then ask yourself, is that the truth? And then I have them ask themselves again, is that the truth?
Yeah.
Is that because sometimes you have to ask yourself a couple of times, because if you're already depressed and you're thinking, I'm unintelligent and awkward and nobody likes me, if you ask yourself, because again, like, parts of your brain are just kind of focused on the depression, is that the truth? And so they might say, well, yes, it is the truth, know. Whereas if you ask yourself again, it's like, okay, all right, get serious. All right, yeah. So maybe I'm not so unintelligent, and I do have relationships that, people do appreciate me, and I am able to maintain those loving relationships. So, plus also, with journaling, I feel like it gives people a voice. If you can't. If you don't have somebody to reach out to, if there's, they're because of shame or whatever, just the situation is, if you don't have somebody to reach out to, your mind and your body is just not holding on to your thoughts. It's a really productive way to just get those things out.
And I have people write letters to themselves, their past self, their future self, deceased family members. One of the most productive things I think I find is when people get to the point where they're able to write a letter to a perpetrator. Now this is in-depth therapy stuff, this is after a long time, long therapy and that kind of thing. But, if you were harmed as a child and you're kind of carrying things from that, and then, not having a voice, never being able to confront that person, and to be able to write, kind of journal to that person or write that person. And so that's giving you a voice and being able to say something. So anyway, so there's just some kind of homework things I've done in the past.
Well, and I think to add to that too, you brought up some really important points there. I think I would add, or maybe just cushion that with, or supplement that with that, like a thought of being able to read back through these things. So something like an automatic thought record. Let's say you have a depressive episode that lasts 4 to 5 weeks. I hope that's not the case, but that's a long haul. If you're keeping an automatic thought record during that time, and if you just do it once, like if you do an automatic thought record for a 4-week stint of depression, you now have logged every negative thought that you have during a depressive episode, so that when you start thinking that way again, like you have something to reference. Like I remember that. Like I remember having this thought already last year or 6 months ago. It's a cue to you. It's something you can look at and you can sort of begin to bolster, like, my brain's going in this direction, right? Yep. It's like something that you can recognize. So also the inverse of that is if you journal while you're having healthy thoughts and you're keeping a log of those healthy thoughts, when you're depressed, you can reference back to your healthier or more alivened self, and remember, that's who I am too. Right? We sort of need some of those reminders when we're depressed to look back and say, that, like I did get that promotion at work, and this is why I got it. Or, I had this great day with my spouse, or with my girlfriend, or with my boyfriend, or with my partner. I had a really, really good day. Or there was this really awesome day out on the river, or there was this really great yoga class, or whatever it may be that you're journaling and keeping some sort of record of. You can go back and say, this is my life. This is just as much of my life, if not more of my life, than what I feel my life is right now in this depressive episode. So there's referencing points in all of those exercises that Andrew just said. That's why I was saying, like, all of those exercises are things that I would recommend to my clients as well. I would recommend to you. And in that, to sort of supplement or bolster that, is when you have these records, it's something you can look back through, and it can be incredibly helpful to you. One of the exercises too that I have my clients do, and they're always a little bit unsure of it on the front end, but I just call it cathartic writing, or whatever comes to your brain, just put it on the paper. What we don't realize or don't think about writing is that writing is a form of thinking. It's speaking is a form of thinking, writing is a form of thinking, and writing is a really controlled form of thinking. Because I can speak right now and I can make all types of errors in the way that I'm speaking. My syntax is completely butchered right now, but your brain is used to people speaking, and so it actually fills in the gaps while we're talking. It doesn't think, he probably should have had a comma or a pause right there, or he should have inverted that sentence, or I bet you he would have spelled that word wrong. Like, nope, that's not what your brain's thinking right now. Well, maybe it is if you're like an English major or something, but it's likely not. When you're writing, though, you're paying much more attention to your thoughts and trying to communicate them. And when you do cathartic writing, which is whatever is in your brain you're trying to put onto the paper without any inhibition, it's you're actually taking a thought that feels very chaotic and discombobulated, and you're bringing order to it on paper. And that's not the paper bringing order to it. That is the act of thinking coming out onto the paper and bringing order to your chaos, literally. Right. And that's a really, really powerful tool. And what winds up happening is you have this string of thoughts in front of you that seemed totally unrelated in your brain, right? They seemed like completely disconnected, discombobulated, and now you've formulated or you've put them down in a way that you can look at them and try and make sense of them. And if you can't make sense of them, this is an excellent journal exercise for you to bring into your counselor, and you guys can make sense of them. Dream journals are also really, really awesome, particularly if you have a counselor who focuses on dreams. And I do a lot of dream work with my clients and dream interpretation and understanding. It's like, if you can capture what the subconscious has going on, if you can capture dreams, and I promise I've still not run into a dream that I feel like is completely random. Even the ones about like unicorns jumping, through pools of like cotton candy and fire. Fire, jeez. Or baby moose. I've still not found a not useful. I've not come across a dream that's not useful as far as making good sense of your life and putting you in a proper direction. So. Yeah, something certainly that you can do is keep a dream journal or a dream log. And if you're not used to journaling, you can start having as fundamental as like the Dear Diary type of journaling. Just like, this is what happened in my day, and it will inevitably give you some clarity to what happened in your day.
Throw in some feeling words.
Yeah.
Like how did it, when you had certain interactions.
Yeah.
What did you,
Yeah.
get into, how did that make you feel?
Absolutely.
It was going to be said at some point.
Yeah. The podcast, like the counselor's chair, how does that make you feel is certainly going to be, or what feelings does that bring up?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Also, you touched on something earlier just about the, I would label it as loving kindness meditation, about thinking of things that you're thankful for.
Yeah.
Thinking about people and wishing kind things for them and,
that's
and
a
that
great
kind of thing.
journaling
So that's actually what I do. I don't like to write narrative, Dear Diary. I was sad and moved today and get into the depth and all that. That's just not how I roll. But I do generally try to write down 3 to 5 things I'm thankful for, and just like actually put that down, and that's like a great start to the day. So actually, ironically, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life is a very well-known book, and that's one of the things that they say that actually specifically combats depression, is to get in a habit of that. So thinking through those things, obviously kind of meditating on them, but then also, like you said, writing it down, even it goes a step farther. So so that might be a really good practice for all of us to do, especially politicians.
Oh man. Yeah, I imagine that would be helpful. It might hurt some of them, honestly. They come back to bite them. Oh, actually, that's also make sure you keep good track of your journal. Just we'll put that out there. Make sure that you keep your journal in a safe place. The last thing you want to be doing is panicking about where your words go. So we have a good place for that journal to go. If you're going to be taking it in a work bag or putting it in a bag somewhere, just make sure you're mindful of putting it in places where you remember where it is, so you're not panicking about where some of your thoughts may be accessible, right? So that's There's also awesome apps for that too, that you can lock, by the way. They'll remind you to journal, and if you're quicker at texting than writing, or you prefer texting over writing or typing, you can do that right into an app. So
try to write something with your left hand now.
Yeah, there you go. Try and text I text with your left thumb. I do that all the time. Cool. So the next point on here, road tripping. I got it from Chili Peppers song because I love the Chili Peppers. This is not one that we probably don't.
Is that the Red Hot Chili Peppers, or is that just like you just
the mild the mild green chili peppers?
Just we were talking about the band, right? Scar Tissue.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
I was just like, I just didn't know if you were inspired to take off to Utah. Eat some mildly strong chili.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, we got snacks and supplies. If you know the song, you'll get the reference. So road tripping. This is actually something really practical that you can do, especially if you have weekends open or you have days off. Plan a little road trip. Like
staycation.
Plan to go out to
Helen, Georgia.
Plan to go out to the mountains. Plan to go somewhere that you enjoy, or you can make it a couple-day trip, maybe even a week-long vacation that you've been wanting to take for forever. But this does not have to be complex. It can literally be like getting out for a day trip, taking a drive, particularly with someone, to maybe a new place or a place you've always wanted to go. Make it cheap, stay with family, stay with friends, do whatever you want to do in that department. Or if you want to get a hotel, that's fine too. There's something important to realize about this one though. Like if your thoughts of death include driving, or your passive suicidal plans include driving, I would not encourage road tripping by yourself. That's probably not the greatest of combinations. So don't use road tripping if it's going to leave you isolated somewhere either, like by yourself. This is one where you do want to try and be more social. So maybe there's a family member that you haven't visited in forever. Either I put that in the blog. Maybe great aunt. I have a great Aunt Carol in the Midwest that I could truck out to see, though it'd be difficult with the kids nowadays. This is one that with kids it may be a little bit more difficult, though. You can plan a family trip somewhere.
Just give them an iPad. That'd be good.
Yeah, just give them an iPad. So, any thoughts on that one, though, Andrew?
Yes, this would require windows down and an epic playlist. Mm-hmm. So, which might cause some, some planning, which we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just gonna lift your mood. I mean, hopefully,
yes.
Right? Hopefully, you're gonna have a good experience. You're not gonna have a flat tire and whatever. But
sure, I think this falls in the category of the Pt.2, which is just like it's fun. Like this is an opportunity for you to just do something fun.
Well, we get used to the grind, right? I mean, if you're working and we tend to use I know I'm guilty of this when my days off are spent doing adulting things, laundry and grocery shopping and cleaning and whatnot, so sometimes we have to, it's just sometimes we have to be like, okay, like, break the cycle, and just, go somewhere. And again, it's just, like I said last week, it's kind of like cleaning your bathroom. It's like, maybe you don't have the motivation or the fortitude to like plan it and execute it, but if you can find the gumption to actually go through with it, you're not going to regret it. Especially if you get out with a friend, you have good conversations, you're able to talk about what's been going on with you, about this.
Yeah.
And then you listen to some what's her song, Africa?
Yeah.
You sing Africa
by Toto
to the top of your lungs with the windows down and a dog in the back. We never had a dog though.
Never had a dog.
Maybe we could adopt a moose, and this would make our road tripping
absolutely
a lot more epic.
Maybe clear out the back of the 4Runner.
But anyway, it's. I think probably for both of us, it's just some of our most fondest memories in life is getting out with people and road tripping and stuff. I mean, and even a big getting a group of people. I mean, going camping. Just finding a place a couple hours away to go camping. I mean, that's pretty inexpensive. I mean, you have a tent and some hot dogs, and you're good to go.
Yep, it's a really cool thing to do, and we kind of passively hinted at. Andrew and I have done plenty of this side by side, so which has been really, really, it's good for both of us. Something we've both enjoyed.
I think an aspect of this podcast and Traverse and the Counseling Center might have spawned from from the road trip. I mean, seriously, legitimately.
Yep. Some of our more creative ideas actually came from those times. Yep. I can definitely say that.
Yep.
And cool. Well, next one on the list, consider vitamins. Okay, so I want to preface this and throw a disclaimer back on the exercise bit. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about diet and food. It's really important for everybody listening to know that we're going to throw out some ideas these ideas are not unfounded. They're not wild hairs from us. They are backed by research, and you can find that research, or we can provide that research as well. But neither Andrew or I are qualified to suggest certain medical advices. So like, if you hear something in this and it piques your interest, make sure you consult with a physician. Make sure you consult with a nutritionist or somebody in that field as well before making this decision for yourself. So the things we're going to talk about are generally pretty safe. I would still, particularly on this vitamin one, make sure you're talking to your doctor, especially if you're taking medications that have pretty severe side effects or don't mix well with other
allergies.
Medicines. So yeah, but let's talk about vitamins, because there's some research out there that shows, one, that vitamins are helpful. There's also, I want to let you know, there's research out there that also shows that vitamins aren't helpful. And so we come from the perspective, both personally, I know I can speak for Andrew as well, because we both take a ton of supplements. We come from the perspective that it is helpful and that it does have an impact. But I do want you to know about the flip side of the coin, where some people, some research suggests, well, it might be just a waste of money. I don't feel that way. I feel like I've personally benefited from them. But consider taking vitamins. This is a tool that you can use that's very practical, generally inexpensive, and something that can have some pretty immediate effect. And so some of the vitamins that I have heard about, seen, taken myself, we're going to be looking at for depression and anxiety both. But for depression particularly, we're going to be looking at D3s and looking at a good source of that. I do believe that the more you pay for a vitamin, generally the better the quality is, the more of it you're going to retain in your body and be used. I have seen that personally, but that should not deter you from trying it out. That's for sure. So you're still going to retain even some of the vitamins that don't break down in your system quite as quick. Like, you're still going to get something from that. So D3s are one in there. A lot of times D3s are paired with calcium as well. So you're going to get some of the supplements are D3 calcium supplements. So you can get those all in the same, or you can get them individually. We're going to be looking at your fats, fish oils, omega-3s, DHAs. Those oils particularly are thought to impact our brain's functioning in certain ways that, again, we're just going to have to do a podcast on
Cognition.
Seriously, there's so much to talk about there. And I think it would be really cool to explain some of the hemisphere research and stuff like that. It's just so much to get into right now. But just know that the oils are good are good for the brain. St. John wort is another one that if you were to Google vitamins to help for depression, that's going to be near the top of the list. And that is just a flower that they've processed down into a pill, and that's been around for a very long time, and they've seen some pretty good results in regards to that and depression. It's something you have to take pretty frequently. I think it's usually 2 capsules 2 times a day.
Yep.
That one is, and that's also another good thing to consult with your physician on, is the amount of this stuff you should be taking.
And I'm not going to be able to remember, but specifically certain medications do not align well with St. John's wort.
No, it's mood stabilizers do not, and some antidepressants do not.
Because they'll counter each other, so that's one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can. You have to watch out for side effects on that one particularly.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, your garden variety fish oil and D3s, I mean,
you're generally going to be okay with those.
Right.
Any so those are 3 that come to mind. Andrew, any other things that you think of?
Also, well, with vitamin D, I think it's if you spend, I believe it's like 15 minutes twice a week in the direct sunlight, usually around between 1 and noon, like, you're actually pretty good. So like in the summertime, like, I know that I'm out several times a week in the sun, so I'm good. I'll lay off because I don't want like an excess amount and just waste money.
Yes.
But so the D3s, anyway, sorry, I'm stumbling over words.
It's all good.
Excuse me.
That moose is really interfering.
Yeah, I just can't get the baby moose out of my mind. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so I mean, obviously, like during the wintertime when you're not in the have access to the sunlight, it's going to be important. Or if you're in Cleveland and it rains, it's 99 days out of
9 days out of 10.
Yeah. So, all right. So yeah, obviously omega-3s. I don't know. I mean, I take a multivitamin, right? So I mean, it just naturally it's going to cover all the things. I also like turmeric, mainly. So I try to when I go vitamins, I try to make sure it's something that I'm not generally going to eat. That's not going to be part of my diet. So turmeric's just not something I really cook with. I don't like fish. Sorry. So I will, make sure I'm taking the omega-3s. But turmeric is really good is one of the best natural anti-inflammatories out there. So, so also can, if you're stiff and in pain, naturally it can add to depression. But yeah, other than that,
how's B12?
Oh yeah,
the B vitamins. I think B6 is also another one. The complex Bs is going to cover all of it. So complex B vitamin is going to cover all of your Bs.
Right.
And what's awesome about that one is your body doesn't retain excessively when you take the complex version. So your body will get rid of what it doesn't need. That's pretty cool. You can pick those up there, a dime a dozen, anywhere. And then there's one that I'm forgetting. Magnesium. That's one you may, if you're in the throes of depression, don't just go out and take a bunch of magnesium. Talk to your physician, get some blood work done, and see what your magnesium levels are. That also reminds me that you should probably have blood work done. If you've never had blood work done specifically for mood stuff, you should probably have that done. Hyperthyroidism and hypo and hyperthyroidism really affect women. If you have severe anxiety or severe depression, and you're a woman and you have thyroid issues in your family and you've never been tested, you may actually be experiencing depression that's not related to anything else but your thyroid, and you need some thyroid medication to help regulate that, especially if you struggle with weight in regards to those things.
Right, and that's a pretty easy fix.
Yeah, it really is, and it can also keep more complex issues from happening to your thyroid, whether that's growths or cysts, or you can get Hashimoto's. I think is the
Hashimoto's.
Yeah, Hashimoto's, which is terrible on your thyroid, and it's something that is genetic. So there's that end of it, but they'll be able to tell if your B levels are low. They'll be able to look at your magnesium and see if it's low. If you really struggle with anxiety, I would highly recommend checking out magnesium. That's something that can be really helpful for both sleep and alleviating anxiety. And women particularly are deficient, or usually deficient, in magnesium. So that's something that you would want to look into. And I really think, as far as vitamins go, nothing else is coming to mind. There's some cool stuff out there on apple cider vinegar and the effects that it can have, and that comes in pill form. I now take that in pill form. Yeah, so that's really cool. That's good stuff. MTC oil. MTC oil, you can look into that, or brain octane oil that's put out by Bulletproof Coffee Company, or Bulletproof Company. I think they do way more than coffee. There's also certain mushrooms that you can look into and do some research in, that you can have mushroom tea. I'm not talking about hallucinogens. You can look into mushroom teas both for sleep and for energy. It's really something that's becoming way more popular. There's a company that Tim Ferriss talks about. Do you remember?
I don't, but they do mushroom coffee.
Yes.
I buy mine from Wild Foods. But I don't know if that's what he goes to.
And I think you can get it at Whole Foods. I think you could get it on Amazon. You could find this stuff.
With that kind of stuff, I would just make sure you're going organic. And when we're getting into mushroom, there's so many. I mean,
I don't even know. I can't remember how many strands of different types of mushrooms. Thousands.
Yeah, it's
so
insane.
that's something obviously that you'd want to kind of research yourself. The website I use is Wild Foods, and I think they have like 8 different types of mushrooms. They have some blends, and they're incredibly thorough with the benefits and that kind of thing with those things. So that's why I like them, and it's organic.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, you can always throw a good fiber supplement in there too to help you in regards to your eating habits as well. There's some cool research out there, but fiber is going to help with like your cholesterol levels and your blood flow. So we'll put that out there as well. All right, so we've gone over that. I think we just have 2 left, man. One is watch your food, and why don't we go ahead and jump into that one, because we're just coming off of vitamins. Right. This food one. Okay, so there's so many things that we could go into as far as the physiological breakdown of food and how it goes through your body. I'll just say this. I think I can put this into one simple statement. We all know what makes us feel bad. Yep. And we all know that what we eat makes us feel terrible. Now, I also understand though that you may have been eating or drinking something for so long, like soda or donuts, or it may be so habitual to you that you don't actually know how bad it's making you feel because it's so normal. Right. But it's not the food that's normal, it's your state that's normal, and it's the state that the food is putting you in that is normal. So terrible may feel normal because what foods are normal in your diet. So like tons of carbs, tons of sugars. We can look at those. Caffeine. I mean, like aspartame. There's so many. Gosh, that would be a whole nother podcast, right? It really would. I mean, you could park on that for a long time.
Well, everything you just listed causes so much inflammation in the body. And and that's why I mean, one aspect of changing your diet is so rough, because I mean literally that you detox, and so for about 2 weeks, I mean your blood glucose levels are trying to situate themselves. Your brain, here we go again, your brain literally is trying to figure out what's going on, because I mean what you eat actually changes the chemistry in your brain.
Yes. In your like in your whole body.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, and then I mean, gut health is a whole different like complex science. I mean, just as complex as the brain. A lot of people are calling the stomach the second brain. Yep. Because they communicate. The brain in your head and your stomach is in constant communication, and generally one affects the other, especially with diet specifically.
And they like literally communicate.
Yes.
Like they're like connected and like they offer information to one another. Right. That is wild.
Right. So it's kind of like when we ask, where in your body do you feel depression?
Right.
Usually it's going to be in your stomach.
Yep.
Right.
It's in your gut, and anxiety is going to be in your chest.
Yeah.
Yep.
So food is a huge component to depression specifically. Your fried food, your sugars,
high carbs, complex carbs, really. Yeah.
Yes, are really going to make you feel, and again, I was going to say make you feel sluggish, but your sluggish might be your norm. So,
right. Yes. So you might want to experiment shifting some of those things, maybe eating things that are a little more healthy for you in increment if your baseline is some of those things that we mentioned. And it's not that they necessarily induce or throw you into a depressive episode, but they certainly, though some of those foods are going to make you feel worse. Those foods also cause weight gain, and I know that's sort of a sensitive issue in our field. However, if you already feel bad about your body, if your hunger is increased from depression, and you're already gaining weight from depression, like that is a giant shame ball waiting to happen in the throes of your depression. And so I bring that up more as like, less about make sure you're watching your weight. That's not really the angle that I'm coming from. It's more, you will watch your weight more carefully when you're depressed, and you will feel worse about it if you put on weight.
Right.
And so that's something you do want to watch and something you do want to be mindful of. So there is a weight component to it, but there's also primarily a mood and body chemical component to this that is really, really important to pay attention to. There's great diets online you can check out. Dr. Amen, I listed him in the notes here. He has some clinics that
he has his own cookbook, actually.
Yeah, man, there's such good information out there as far as healthy eating, and it's all like Dr. Amen stuff. I love. I've looked through it. Andrew told me about him. Is it Amen though?
Amen.
Is it Amen? Okay, yeah. Dr. Amen. He it's in a really non-shameful way, actually, that he addresses this stuff. And a lot of these modern nutritionists are addressing ways different than they were addressing food differently than they did 10 years ago, which is just like, stop eating this crap. It's bad for your body. Do you want to be fat? It's like, well, that's not helpful, particularly.
Get skinny in 6 weeks.
Right, yeah. It's not helpful for somebody, particularly in the throes of depression, that's already feeling like crap about themselves or feeling like crap in general. And so some of these new nutritionists, both male and female on the scene, a lot of them are into yoga and meditation too. And so they're super aware of shame issues in regards to depression or anorexia or bulimia, eating disorder, or stuff that gets tied in with depression and anxiety. And so they're sensitive to it. And so they address things in a way that's actually helpful versus this sort of body shaming way, which you're going to hear us stay away from the body shaming end of things. We'll stay away from that with like a 10-foot pole. It's not helpful to anyone. I not long term, that's for sure. So, no.
Yeah, so a couple of things I'd like to go over. One basic thing is so some people might be saying, so what do I eat?
Right.
I would say a general rule of thumb is when you go into a grocery store, stick to the outskirts. So your produce is generally going to be on the right.
That
your produce
is
and your fruit.
Nifty.
Yep.
Even at Aldi they do that.
Yeah. And then all the meat and everything's going to be in the back. Whereas when you start going down aisles, that's when you start getting in trouble, because you have your food that is. So I actually learned this last week. So certain foods that last a long time actually go through like a radiation treatment.
What?
Yeah. So
that's not surprising though. Like there's some crazy stuff in processed foods, man.
50 years shelf life. I mean, that okay. So like that stuff is not good for you, obviously, right? I mean, so yeah. I mean, I would start there. Be mindful of cutting back on going down the aisles. Focusing on breads and grains and pastas and stuff that comes out of a box versus the perishable the perishable items in your produce and meat sections.
Wow, that's great. That's great advice, dude. I've never thought about it like that. The outskirts of the bakeries over there with all the like.
Well, yeah, okay. Maybe
just like gotta block out the donut section.
We'll skip that one, but
cheat.
Yeah, I mean, I would say even if you could, just start chipping away at it in the sense of like, okay, so even trying to do like 80%, staying in those areas versus. Not 80% in the going up and down the aisles, canned foods, and just obviously things with extremely long shelf lives are just chock full of corn and sugar. Dr. Amen, that he just spoke about, hates corn. Apparently, corn is of the devil. It is so bad for us, but it's in everything. It is literally in just about everything. It's just chock full of pesticides and chemicals. Anyway, I'm sure people are hating me right now because it's like, especially in the South, corn is a
it is the thing.
Vegetable. So
they'll even put it in a nugget and fry it.
Right. Yeah. One thing I also wanted to mention, though, with depression specifically, is people will generally overeat or undereat. if you're under eating, you're not going to have energy. You're not going to have the cognitive awareness and ability to stay focused. So that's going to affect your mood, which is going to bring you down even in a lower form of depression. So obviously, if you were an under eater, you should obviously try to be mindful of that and eat something. Again, just go to your grocery store and eat an apple. So just make sure that you're eating something, because that, not eating is going to affect your mood. It's going to affect your blood sugar, and it's just going to prolong the depression. Overeating is kind of like what you were touching on. Just eating the wrong things. I mean, if you're not getting out of bed and you're watching Netflix for 18 hours a day and eating a gallon of ice cream, it actually might spike your serotonin levels for a little while, which is going to make you feel better, but then you're just going to have a sugar crash, and you're going to be right back to where you were before, but maybe even a little worse. So
one of the things too that I hear commonly, and it's becoming a misnomer at this point, I think, actually, I don't know how you feel about political figures. I really do think Michelle Obama actually had a massive impact on the price of healthy food in the United States, because we actually saw healthy foods become much more affordable under the Obama administration. And I'm not endorsing anyone, but I do think there's some credit should be put there, as well as we have seen that now maintain a trend since that administration. You can go to places like Aldi. If you're not familiar with Aldi, you should get familiar with Aldi. You can pick up the foods that Andrew's talking about. It's a smaller chain, and you can get healthy items for a fraction of the cost of the larger grocery stores, though even places like Walmart now offer a lot healthier options. Publix,
organic stuff at
Food
Walmart.
Line, Food City is another great one you can plug into. They have cheaper prices on their products.
Aldi is actually owned by Trader Joe's. Did you know that?
Yes, yeah, I did, and that's based. It's all based out of Germany. And the Germans have some pretty healthy habits as far as food goes modernly. Anyway, so
yeah, fried pork is incredibly
okay, that's better than fried.
Wiener Schnitzel.
Apparently, it's healthier though than a corn nugget.
Good point.
I'll take the fried pork over a corn nugget now after you scared me to death over corn.
Oh man, I'm telling you, he hates corn. He'll put that in the same category as sugar almost.
Yeah. So healthy eating has become much more affordable. So I would definitely encourage you to check out options there. The last thing on the list, and then we'll wrap it up. It's pretty short and sweet. This kind of goes to some of the music and shows stuff that we were talking about. But museums and aquariums. I understand that you have to be near a larger city to have access to these things. But if you have access to a museum or an aquarium, this is something you can pull your family into, particularly if there's a Discovery Museum. There's one of those in Chattanooga. We have a zoo. We have one of the larger freshwater aquariums in the United States here in Chattanooga as well. There's massive ones in Atlanta. In the larger cities, you're going to see these museums and aquariums. If you're an artist or creative, getting into an art museum, taking a look at other people's art, it is going to be some sort of inspiring scenario for you. Usually these museums are in really cool districts of the city too. You can hop around and explore some new things with your family, with your partner, with your friends, or even by yourself. I've found that going into an aquarium when you're anxious or feeling depressed, it has like a massive shift in mood. It's why I think they keep those aquariums in dentist offices. And so absolutely. Most of us don't like to have our teeth drilled, so I do. I think they keep massive fish tanks in the dentist's office. You can just stare at it and you feel your anxieties go away. But these larger aquariums, they're almost built in a way that could be therapeutic, as long as you're not going during peak field trip time. For schools, then it is certainly not. Unless you like kids, then maybe it's a win-win for you. You get to be around some kiddos and also see some fish and some animals and learn some things. this goes even to some of the stuff we were talking about, podcasts with like learning and growing, like taking in new information. Maybe you pick up a new hobby going from a museum or an aquarium. There's all kinds of things that can benefit you there, and things that also help you get outside of your own culture, which is also something that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
totally. Yeah, it's a way of learning. I mean, obviously, we should have just done this whole podcast on neuroscience, but just learning things.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the saying, try to learn something every day,
mm-hmm.
right? I mean, that's certainly a way to broaden your horizon,
mm-hmm.
experience different things.
Good deal.
Throw it into your calendar during your depressed season that
mm-hmm.
might come up. Go to museums, explore. What exhibits might be
mm-hmm.
coming up. So
and I mean in DC, there's some of the most incredible ones that you can
do a road trip to DC and do some yoga and
hey, look, you can combine. That's what I love about this list is like you can combine them, you can mix and match. I wouldn't recommend doing yoga with the baby moose. It might be a little difficult. But anyway,
I would say try it, see what happens. You never know.
Oh wow.
It could become downward moose.
Downward moose. Well, I feel myself fading in my in my intellectual ability at the moment.
Yeah, we're tired.
We're trailing. So this might be a good time to wrap it up. Actually, that finishes all 20. I think we went at about an hour and a half. Sorry we went over, though maybe not so sorry. I think you'd enjoy the information. You can break it up into several listening sessions. So hopefully there was some entertainment in there, some good laughs this go around. The more we get comfortable with this, I think the more our personalities are going to show, and we're both kind of humor-based dudes. So, again, if you have any questions, anything that you'd like us to focus on, you can email us at contact@infotraverse.com or admin@infotraverse.com. You can also text our office line at 423-310-8206 with any questions or ideas you have for the podcast. That line's not a clinical text number, so that's not really questions about therapy. That's more just for the podcast. So just an FYI there. And I think that ends it. Our next podcast, super pumped. We're gonna have Charlie Miser on. We'll be interviewing him. He's a successful businessman here in Cleveland with East West Media, now digital media that he's over, and so we're super pumped to have him on. We're going to talk about a few things that he's pretty knowledgeable in, and some surprise things as well, because they'll surprise us. That's how it works.
We'll be on a road trip actually.
Yeah, we'll be down in Florida. we'll be road tripping.
We'll change in venue. We'll be looking like lobsters.
There you go. I will for sure.
Oh, I definitely
That's
will.
what happens to me. Cool. Well, thank you guys for your time. And again, shoot us any questions if you have them. We'll catch you in a couple weeks.
Cool. Toodles.
I love it.
You have been listening to The Counselor's Chair. We hope you'll join us next time for our interview with Charlie Miser. Charlie is the president of East West Digital Media and a devoted family man. Andrew, Charlie, and Josh will explore ways in which friendship can move you forward in life. We will discuss how surrounding yourself with the right people can influence you towards positive living, sticking with change, and taking healthy risks. We will also uncover how toxic friendships can work against your overall success. So if you enjoy dad jokes and sincere, thoughtful reflection, it should be a good time. This podcast was recorded and produced by Josh Zello, and music installment is provided by Joel Harris Music. Thank you, and goodbye.